Hey folks, I'm following up with a additional video on textured cheater plates. So I'm using a vinyl placemat and I take the shiny side and I put that down. It's a little bit better impressions if you use that portion. So once you've done this, you go prep the wheel, and so I'm putting a bat on the wheel and then I'm gonna moisten it a little bit. You don't want a wet bat. I just want to have the center part of it a little bit damp, and then when I put my clay on there, it'll hold down to the bat a little bit better. So there's my signature. I signed it before I put it on there. And the next thing I'm going to do is, while the mat is still on, I'm going to take my sponge and press down and compress it into the bat even more. Once I've done this, I'm going to gently remove the vinyl placemat, and then I'm going to cut off the excess clay. You could have some, I could have cut off some of this before I placed it here, but I just chose to do it all at one point. Now, one of the things that's going to happen here is I plunged my needle tool too deep. So you can see it's not the needle cutting, it's the base that holds the needle got in there. And so this is why it keeps jumping up. And I didn't realize it at the time, but here watching the video, I see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm continuing on, and I'm just going to have to cut the circle a little bit shorter than what I had intended to. So I was using 12-inch bats before. This is a 14, so it's still relatively the same size, just maybe a 13-inch platter rather than 14, with it taking off an extra half an inch. So it's just really important to keep your hand steady. So when you cut like that, you'll see all those raised edges with little bits of clay. We call them clay boogers. I'm just going to use a sponge now to clean up that rim. And now I'm going to dip my stick tool in some water and gently start inserting it to get that separation. And then once you've trained the clay to come up a little bit like that, now you can go get your sponge and stick it in there and really start bending it upwards. So my inside finger is just holding it down where I want the crease to be, and then the outside is pushing up. And then when I've got it to about the angle that I want it, just a little less than 90 degrees, then I need to come and treat the rim. So I'm going to kind of pinch it and hold the sponge across and push down, and that's going to finish off that rim for me. So the next step after this is to actually go add the handles. So let's take it off and head over to the handle station. When I start with handles, I usually go much bigger than I need. So I'm going to be cutting a foot. And there's no way I'm going to need a foot long handle here, but I'm going to do 2 5/8-inch strips and then 2 1/4-inch strips. I'm using a sponge to soften the edges, and I do that for both sides of the thicker handle portion, and then I'm just going to place the 1/4-inch strips on there and then go over with a sponge for them too. I call these step handles. Now I'm going to place the texture back on there, and I'm going to roll it in, and now I get these handles with the texture on it. So it's useful to have a dowel. This is a 2-inch dowel to wrap your clay around to form the handle portion. You could freeform it too, but it's uniform this way. So it's always important to try out your handle ahead of time, and I could tell that was a little bit too big, so I just needed to cut off a teeny bit, and I'm confident that this size will be the better size now. So that's about 9-inch handle. So I'm folding it up. I call these horseshoe handles as well. And now you're going to have to put them onto the platter. So I'm going to use this MKM tool to figure out the sides and where I should put the handles. So I'm just marking the halfway part on both sides. So this is a pretty easy tray to do. It's fun. So now I'm going to place the handles in. I'm going to mark where they go. I'm going to slip and score, And the really important thing is that you cover these handles when they're drying. They're going to want to dry faster and they're prone to crack. So please, please, please put plastic over them as they're drying. And it should just be at least one night, with the plastic, and then maybe just plastic on the handle portion as the rest dries. Well, I hope you give it a shot. These are a fun project, and I'll catch you next time.